This has been the #1 storyline for the Milwaukee Brewers here in the offseason. Would they or would they not trade their ace, Freddy Peralta?
The Mets finally have their starting pitcher, and it was the one really that the Mets were looking for all year long. Freddy Peralta is coming to Queens.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about the New York Mets. Just when you thought their offseason couldn't get any crazier after bringing in Bo Bichette and Luis Robert Jr. and losing so many big-time and beloved players, they went ahead and pulled off something huge. They traded for Milwaukee Brewers ace Freddy Peralta. And honestly, this trade tells us two very different stories. On one side, you've got the Mets desperately trying to fix what went horribly wrong in 2025. On the other side, you've got the Brewers doing exactly what they always do. And frankly, it is starting to get frustrating to watch. And something else that can get frustrating sometimes is when you don't have enough money on hand to make purchases that you need to make in your day-to-day life. But before we get to the video today, there's a little special break from a partner of ours, Clover. With Clover, users can advance up to $400 before payday with no interest, no credit checks, no late fees, whether it's for an unexpected car repairs, groceries, rent, gas, or even an impromptu night out. Clover helps people bridge the gap until payday and avoid financial stress. So if you need a little extra cash, with Clover, you can access up to $400, no credit check, no late fees. Just click the link in the description below to sign up and let them know I sent you with my promo code. Thank you so much, Clover. I know I personally have been paycheck to paycheck and really could benefit from a service like Clover, where I can get an advance on my paycheck before it actually arrives to help me avoid financial stress and just keep on top of my life. So thank you, Clover, for everything you do and for partnering with Uni Diamond Talk for this video. And if you guys aren't already, please subscribe with notifications on. We're on our road to 50,000 subscribers, and we're giving away official MLB jerseys every couple of uploads to a lucky subscriber who has those notifications turned on. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like as a jersey. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into this story. Okay, so late Wednesday night, the Mets acquired Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers from the Brewers in exchange for two of their top prospects, Jeff Williams and Brandon Sproy. This is huge for New York. But before we get into what this means for the Mets, let's talk about what they're actually getting in Freddy Peralta. Freddy Peralta just had the best season of his career in 2020. 0.64 FIP and 3.47 expected ERA weren't quite as good as that shiny 2.7 ERA, which does suggest he got a little lucky with balls in play. His career ERA sits at 3.59, so we're probably looking at something closer to that being his true talent level. But here's the thing. Over the last 3 years, he's averaged 32 starts and 172 innings per season. And that durability is exactly what the Mets desperately needed because their 2025 season was an absolute disaster, and it all came down to starting pitching. David Stearns made it clear all offseason that adding a frontline starter was his #1 priority. Well, he finally got his guy, and it just so happens to be a pitcher he knows extremely well. You see, David Stearns was the Brewers general manager when they acquired Peralta from Seattle back in December 2015 for Adam Lind. That was literally Stearns' first big move as the newly hired Brewers GM. He watched Peralta develop from a teenage prospect into an all-star ace over his time in Milwaukee. Stearns oversaw Peralta's career from 2018 to 2023 before leaving to join the Mets. So this isn't just the Mets trading for a good pitcher. This is Stearns reuniting with arguably the signature success story of his entire tenure in Milwaukee. He knows exactly what he's getting. He knows Peralta's strengths, his weaknesses, how to use him, how to manage him. That familiarity is huge. Now, for the Mets as a whole, Peralta gives them that true #1 starter they've been missing. He slots in ahead of McLean, Sean Manaea, Clay Holmes, David Peterson, and Senga. Plus, they got Tobias Myers as a throw-in, a 27-year-old who's got a 3.15 ERA in 49 career appearances and can work as a spot starter or long reliever. Personally, if I was the Mets, I'd use him as a 4th or 5th starter. That type of talent is desperately needed in a Mets rotation that's looking for any type of depth. Now, the price wasn't cheap though. Jet Williams was the Mets' #3 prospect and the 30th overall prospect in baseball, according to MLB.com. The 22-year-old was their 2022 first-round pick, 14th overall. He He's only 5'7", but he's got speed, patience at the plate, and versatility. Last year between AA and AAA, he hit 261, 363, 465 with 17 home runs and 34 stolen bases while playing multiple positions. Now, I will admit, he did struggle a bit in AAA, but that is to be expected for a 21-year-old at that level. The thing is, he was blocked everywhere in New York after they added Bichette and Roberts, so it made sense to move him. Brandon Sproit was their 5th ranked prospect, a 6'3" right-hander who throws up to 98 miles per hour with a solid arsenal of secondary pitches. He made 4 starts for the Mets last year and went 0-2 with a 4.7 ERA, so I mean, he's got potential, but he is still clearly raw. He had solid starts against Texas and Cincinnati, but struggled against weaker offenses like Washington and Miami. And for a team trying to win now, trading 2 prospects with question marks for an established ace making just $8 million next year, that's a no-brainer for New York. And here's where this story takes a turn that honestly makes me a bit mad, because the Milwaukee Brewers just did what they always do. They won 97 games last season, they had the best record in baseball, they won the NL Central for the 3rd straight year, they made it all the way to the NLCS before getting swept by the eventual world champions, the Dodgers. Like, they're right there in their championship window. And then what do? They trade away their ace again because they know they can't pay him. This is the 3rd big-time Brewers pitcher traded in the last 3 off seasons. In February 2024, they traded Corbin Burnes to Baltimore. Burnes had just won a Cy Young Award back in 2021 and was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Last December, they traded closer Devin Williams to the Yankees. Before that, it was Josh Hader. Now it's Peralta. So there's a pattern here. Milwaukee traded Hader, Burnes, and Williams all about a year before they hit free agency. They don't let their stars get to free agency. They cash them in for prospects while they still have value. Now, imagine if they did keep all of those pitchers. The Brew Crew would have the best pitching staff in the entire major leagues. Now, I get the logic. I do. Like, Peralta can become a free agent after 2026. Milwaukee probably can't afford to give him the long-term extension he's going to command. So instead of losing him for nothing but a draft pick, they get 2 controllable young players that they can develop. Like, that makes sense from a business perspective. But here's my question, like, when do you actually go for it? The Brewers have been to the playoffs in 7 of the last 8 seasons. They've won the NL Central 3 years in a row. They just have the best regular season record in all of baseball. If that's not a window to go all in, then what is? Milwaukee's total cash spent in 2025 was around $156 million, which ranked 18th in Major League Baseball. But here's the thing, they keep winning anyway. They've made the postseason in 5 of the last 6 years despite being consistently outspent by rivals like the Cubs. They've built this incredible player development system where they find undervalued guys and turn them into stars. Like, look what they did with Quinn Priester. They got him from the Red Sox in a trade, tweaked his approach, and he went 157 innings with a 3.32 ERA and set a team record with an 11-game winning streak. Andrew Vaughn was struggling with the White Sox, came to Milwaukee, and all of a sudden, he's immediately starting to produce, hitting 308 in nearly 70 games. Caleb Durbin was a 14th round pick from the Braves. Now he's putting up nearly 3 WAR in his rookie season at the hot corner for Milwaukee. So yeah, the Brewers are really good at finding talent where no one else can, but at some point, you have to actually try to win the World Series, not just keep the machine running. So here's my personal opinion on this entire thing, and I'm going to be honest with both sides here. For the Mets, this is a home run. This is exactly what they needed to do. They had baseball's 2nd most expensive payroll in 2025 and missed the playoffs. That was unacceptable. The rotation was the problem, and Stearns just fixed it by getting a guy he knows inside and out. Is Peralta going to repeat that 2.7 ERA? Probably not. But even if he settles in around 3.4, 3.6, which is his 3-year average, that's still a legitimate ace on a team that had nobody. Last year, the Mets' entire pitching staff was just 18th in the entire MLB when it comes to ERA. So Peralta instantly becomes their best starter and gives them someone they can actually trust in big games. Plus, he's only making $8 million this year. So for a team with the Mets' resources, that's nothing. It is basically a free look at an ace without breaking the bank. And hey, if it works out, his agency, Rep 1 Baseball, has been open to extensions in the past, so maybe they can lock him up long term. Yes, the prospects they gave up hurt a little. little bit. But here's the reality. Jeff Williams was blocked everywhere because of the Bichette and Luis Robert Jr. acquiring. Sproit had potential but struggled against major league hitters. And when you're trying to compete for a championship, you can't hold on to prospects. The Mets still have McLean, Tong, and plenty of other young arms in the system. They're fine. All in all, this trade shows the Mets are serious about 2026. Now, for the Brewers, man, this one is tougher because I understand both sides of it, but I'm leaning towards just being frustrated with Milwaukee's approach. Again, I get it. Small market, tight budget, can't afford to pay Peralta when he hits free agency, but the asking price for him was a major league ready starting pitcher and top prospects, and they kind of got that. Sproit can step into the rotation right away. Williams adds speed and versatility to the infield mix. From a value standpoint, they did all right, especially knowing you're losing him next year. But let's be serious. When Sproit or Williams eventually approach their final years of control, they're going to get traded too. At some point, you have to stop trading your stars and actually try to win a World Series. But this is what the Brewers do. They develop their stars, they get them for cheap, they compete, and then right when they're good enough to actually win it all, they traded the stars away for more prospects to develop. Endless cycle, endless cycle. And I know what people are going to say. Yeah, but they keep making the playoffs, so clearly the system works. But does it work? I mean, like, there's a difference between winning the division and making the playoffs and actually winning the World Series, which is something they haven't done since 1982. Like, imagine if they had kept Burns and Peralta for 2026. That's a championship caliber 1-2 punch at the top of your rotation. Sure, you might lose them both in free agency, but isn't that kind of worth it if it gives you a shot at a real title? I also think there's something to be said about what this does to the fan base and players. Like, you're telling your team and your fans, hey, we just had the best record in baseball, made it to the NLCS, but we're going to trade our ace. Like, that's a tough message. It's basically saying we don't actually care about winning, so we're going to cash in now because we can't afford him, so we're just going to try to keep doing this prospect approach. I don't know, man. Like, from a pure asset management standpoint, did they get good value? Yeah, sure. But from a trying to win a World Series standpoint, aka the entire point of the sport of baseball, I don't think they win. I don't think they did the right thing. Now, this trade really highlights one of baseball's biggest problems right now. The financial gap between small market and big market teams is insane. The Brewers operate on roughly $100 million to $150 million payroll, while the Dodgers and Mets are spending 3 times that. The Dodgers literally just gave Kyle Tucker nearly $60 million a year. The Brewers are incredibly well run. They draft well, develop players better than almost anyone, make smart trades, and consistently compete. But there's a ceiling to what they can accomplish when they're always trading away their best players before paying them. Compare that to the Mets, who can just throw money at their problems. They have the financial flexibility to fix mistakes and chase championships in a way that small market teams simply can't. Is that fair? I'm not sure. You can argue that all 30 MLB teams are owned by billionaires, and I completely understand that. But only 2 teams, the Mets and the Dodgers, are actually willing to throw around $500 million payrolls. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Does this make the Mets a playoff team again, even though they still lost so much this offseason? Are the Brewers honestly smart for always cashing in when they know they can't compete with teams with bigger financial pockets? And how do you feel about this in general and how it all is going to tie into the lockout next year? But that's all for today, guys. I'll see you on the next one.